Have you been shadow banned by the liberal media? Free market got you down? Do you get ratioed on every Twitter post because of your shit takes on literally everything? Then producer Dave and HK are probably watching your 3-hour dissertation on how a tomato cannot possibly be a fruit because gender and critical race theory can be cured with ivermectin. The Intellectual Dollar Tree, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific. Please leave it a 1-star review on iTunes. Check out the rest of our schedule at echoplexmedia.com.
In this world, a cesspool of kindness and ethical blindness. So please excuse my sarcastic tone. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the sample shown. Mr. Piss-Drunk fraternity guy, you got my asshole, bloodshot eyes. Get drunk and fight every night. Idolize Bradley, belittle women's rights. Homophobic, racist, and don't give a fucking hey. Do you think you can drive a bigger truck? So wear your baseball cap to the side to let everyone know that you're a nice guy. So cool, was so impressed. Lots of chicks in a barrel chest. Cause you're a real man. Punch for punch, gonna piss in your face while you're passed out drunk. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. He's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. She's a nice guy, but all of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planets. Oh, I just can't understand it. Conquer divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, Sherlock! I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, Sherlock! Read into the lyrics, cause everybody gets their just desserts. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first. You're next on the list. Such a nice guy who speaks through his fists. Prick with the pension for messing with heads. A broken nose for dinner and breakfast in bed. Alcoholic, paranoid, and suicidal too. But you'll probably kill her before she gets away from you. Screws in a pool, let it cry. All your friends say that you're a nice guy. Have a drink, this one's on me. Look, you're doing fine, losing to your disease. Comatose, I'll pack your bags. Bury you like cats ready to gag. Nice guy, you're a nice guy. We're all nice guys, but all of you are assholes. He's a nice guy, she's a nice guy. Hey, Tom Bone's a nice guy. All of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. The fundamental put a body by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics. So let the bloody spill quench your thirst. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Plex. We do the show live every Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific and beyond into red light. Sometimes it goes quite late. This is episode 299 on the podcast feed. We'll be off next week as we move to the new studio. And the first Sunday show out of the new studio will be episode 300. If you're a listener of this podcast and you want to give us some thoughts, some of your favorite moments over the last, I don't even know how many years we've been doing this podcast, hit us up in Discord. That's discord.me/Echoplex. Even if you're new there, people will help you out in there. It's a nice community. If you're new to Discord, it's a good place to land. Also, if you go to echoplexmedia.com/support, we have an Amazon wish list. We've already received a few items from some very generous folks. And if you got a few extra bucks to spend, that's probably the best way to help us out as we move, because all my personal moving expenses are spoken for. And if you don't have any money to spend or just have like ideological problems giving idiots like me money, you can share this podcast with your friends, text it to somebody you know, post it on your Facebook, whatever. I'm Producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr.
And I'm Historian Matt, and you can't find me anywhere. Don't look for me. Really, don't do that. But just kidding. I'm also on How the Tech Are You, which is our tech show. Check it out. It is recorded and posted various places. You can find it on any podcatcher. Just look for How the Tech Are You. And other big news I have is my graphic novel has just been released yesterday in paperback form. So it was released before digital, but now you can get the paperback in cool, nice paper form with full color and everything. It looks really nice. So check it out if you're interested in graphic novels and, you know, it's fantasy type stuff. It is kind of for like middle grade, so younger or not, younger than young adult, but not too young kids. But I think everybody could enjoy it if they like that sort of stuff. Other than that, Dave, why don't you give the people what they want? Maybe.
Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine. I hope you have a real nice day. The weather, the traffic, the time, and the news. How's your commute? What do you do? Sorry I'm late. I kept hitting snooze. It's just one of those days. You know what they say. It is what it is. Ignorance is bliss. When it rains, it pours. Couldn't ask for more. What goes around comes around, all in good time. I guess that your guess is as good as mine. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine. I hope you have a real nice day. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine and it's great. Thanks. Everything's fine and everything's fine. I hope you have a real nice day.
So, not to be outdone by the madness that we saw during the upfront, here's the one, the only, Mike Pillow.
With no sound.
Not to be outdone by the madness we saw on the upfront, here's the one, the only, Mike Pillow.
Here's two cops. There's a bull here. These are people that know the truth. They know where our country's going. They know how bad if we don't get rid of the machines, it's over. They know elections, everything manifests from election. You're sitting like this. Now that the bad thing, all the good stuff Donald Trump did in 2016 all the way up to December 19th, you bet you had people flow over to that. Now you're talking political. Oh, I'm going to be a Republican or whatever, or they're going to be a common sense Trump supporter, basically. So they're over here. Now that bucket, it was a one-way street. Now, nobody ever came out this way because they had no reason to, because he did all these promises. Promises made, promises kept. I don't care what, if you didn't like him or what. You didn't leave this bucket because your life improved. Hello? You didn't leave the bucket. There's the camera. I'm looking at the lights. Hello? So anyway.
Follow the light, Mike. Follow the light.
How much cocaine is he on?
I think he might be sober.
I'll tell you some stories.
That might be the line of the night.
Or did he take his My Coffee coffee?
Yeah, he maybe
He's not
drank,
shilling.
maybe been drinking too much of his own coffee. That was wild. That wasn't at the Turning Point USA event. That was at some, I don't know, some other thing. I think it was in Arizona. They've been holding all these weird events in Arizona. I didn't bother to look because I don't care.
Did they not let him in to Toilet Paper USA?
I don't know if that's the case or if he just didn't go because it's in Florida and he's been spending most of his time in Arizona lately.
Maybe.
I don't know. They probably weren't going to give him a speaking gig there.
Yeah.
So up next, we got a Bay Area Congress critter, a Ro Khanna. Not my Congress critter now, but he will be my Congress critter when I move, actually. And he went on to Fox News to talk to them about inflation and some of the causes of it and how it's not necessarily just the president that makes the inflation.
Really?
Last reading. So we're up to 9.1%, Congressman, with all of this spending.
But Maria, you know correlation and causation are different. I mean, you can't say that Trump sending stimulus checks in December of 2020 was not inflationary and somehow Biden doing it in March was inflationary. What happened is we got out of COVID because of vaccines developed by President Trump and President Biden distributing them, and that increased demand and the supply was constrained and the Fed policy was wrong. But I agree with you that inflation is a major problem. The way to address it is to have more industrialization in America, to build more things in America, not to be relying overseas. And the climate emergency, look, if there were ever a time to go to the American people.
Notice how they're showing like the sort of high end items. Those were like organic cage free eggs. This is like gluten free ricotta. Like, do you know what I'm saying? They're showing these items that have these buzzwords attached to them that tend to inflate the prices of items in the store.
I think that gluten free thing is just the marketing, because isn't ricotta like usually gluten free?
Sure.
Anyways,
but I mean, they're
cage free eggs. I understand. I got it.
But I mean, they're showing things that tend to be things that are associated with prices being inflated on certain items, right?
Yeah. I also want to point out that supposedly bringing manufacturing back into the U.S. or making more stuff in the U.S., that would not actually be deflationary or disinflationary. What they're trying to do, which is the reduction of the inflation pressures, because it's more expensive to build stuff here, so that would increase prices. That wouldn't decrease. It's actually better to have stuff built in other countries where they have cheaper labor and stuff.
We don't want petrostates like Russia to have power. We don't want our president to have to go to beg to Saudi Arabia for oil. We don't want to be going dependent on Iran or Venezuela. The way to do that is to have a moonshot.
That's a big ass bag of rice. I don't know. 1150s. look at how wide it is. It's a big ass bag of rice.
I can't it's bigger than the frame that they have there.
Right. That's a big fucking bag of rice.
Shot on renewable energy and to make that stuff in America, not China. That's what a climate emergency would do. It would say, because of this war, let's have a long-term energy independence strategy and make the solar, the wind, the batteries here.
Oh, I think.
Oh, she was going to say something dumb. So also not for nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, we make a lot of batteries here because we have the Tesla Gigafactory, and the one in Texas, I believe, makes their own batteries there. Wind, we do have, most of wind is like built in overseas because it's actually not too hard to ship wind turbines and stuff overseas. It's actually getting it over land that's a problem.
And like, not for nothing too, I think Roe also kind of missed the mark when he was talking about bringing manufacturing back, because those are better paying jobs than like retail. So people have more money to spend, and then the demand will go up for like things again.
What is better paying?
Like manufacturing is like a better paying job than like retail generally.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
I think retail is pretty bad. Never worked retail.
Some of those
really,
people that work in
really.
retail are going to end up moving to a higher paid job in manufacturing if they can get one. And then they're going to have more money. And that's actually going to, again, put inflationary pressure on some goods because they can compete and pay more for goods, especially if goods are in short supply.
Yeah, that's true. But generally, if you are, giving more money to people who are more productive, so there's more goods being made, it's less inflationary, if that makes sense, because there's actually, even though you have more money, you have more goods. So it's the same amount of money chasing the same amount of goods, supposedly. Well, the problem we had is we gave a lot of money to people who are out of work because of COVID, and that's great. I'm like, we really should have done that, but that does cause a lot of inflation because it's not actually producing any products in the process.
And also, it's not like if we were to start ramping up manufacturing at first, it would be less efficient. Not because the people here are bad or less good or even less skilled. It's just you got to put the factory up. You got to get people in to get the systems ready to go. You got everything. You don't just throw up a factory and all of a sudden, boom, it's at peak efficiency. There's things you don't know that are going to happen that you're, we need to adjust this. We need to adjust this. We need to do this better. We're failing at this. Oh, we didn't know this. Oh, our supply chain isn't good. So we have to actually wait for this particular part to finish what we're building. Like a lot of the auto manufacturers dealt with that, even though the cars are built in America, so a lot of the components aren't. And they couldn't get chips for a while to put in the cars for certain components. So then the supply went down. So even like building stuff here isn't like it's not like a switch you flip. It would take a generation to ramp it back up.
Yeah. To like bring a bunch of industry back. I mean, again, like I've been following Tesla. I know we hate Elon Musk, but following his process, he is actually building factories in the US, and it's interesting to see how that works. And he calls it like a dumpster fire of cash, right? It costs a whole lot of money to get a factory up and running, and it's not efficient, and they can't do what they want to do yet. It'll take years before they get there, but
that's it. I mean, if these are auto workers, he's eventually competing with people at Ford. And the problem that he's going to end up facing is as Ford ramps up their electric stuff, those people that work at Tesla are going to look at that union job at the Ford factory and be like,
Yeah, because I'm sure Elon Musk doesn't like those unions.
No, he don't like him at all. That's going to be the next thing he gets in big trouble for. I bet one of them places he's going to try to unionize, and he's going to break all kind of laws trying to stop him.
Probably, yeah.
So here's Steny Hoyer on with Neil Cavuto, Fox's business expert, to talk about inflation.
Again, we're at 3.6 unemployment. If very frankly, Neil, if this were a Republican president, I think people would be saying, boy, 3.6 unemployment, that essentially is just about a non-employment.
Until they go to the grocery store, right? Until they try to buy a suit or a car. I get what you're saying. Finally, let me ask you, the backdrop for this Neil, also is the president. But could I ask you this? I
kind of like that he's laughing at the guy for not letting him finish. I think more people need to laugh at these clowns. I don't know that much about Steny Hoyer. I think his voting record's pretty good though, but I like that he's kind of from the old school. He's probably not too far away from retirement, so he doesn't give a fuck if he goes on and laughs at this fucking clown on Fox News.
You think, and some in your party are saying he should run again, he's open to run again, that he's not Neil, too old to run again?
Neil, I'm not going to go there. This is about today. You're asking about problems today. There's an inflation problem, but what you haven't said is...
6 out of 10 Democrats don't think the president's up to dealing with this today, right?
Neil.
Dude, you should just walk off that interview. This guy's not letting you feel... That's not like the guy's like fucking word salading like Jordan Peterson there. Guy doesn't get 30 seconds out before Neil Cavuto starts talking over him. I'd be like, don't invite me on your show anymore.
Right.
I'd like to finish. I'll go somewhere where they'll give me a minute and 20 seconds to finish what I'm saying.
Are you going to let me speak?
Please, go ahead.
Thank you. Neil, what you haven't said is, in terms of inflation, this is a worldwide problem. We are in the middle of the OECD nations in terms of inflation. about 50% higher than ours, 50% lower. We're in the middle. It's a worldwide. What caused it? The pandemic caused it. The supply shortages and the spike in demand. People were, as you point out, in terms of
any of it?
If spending caused it, why are 50% of the nations in the OECD nations above us? They didn't do an American Rescue Plan. Did spending? Yes, I think it did in this sense. During the pandemic, people were shut in their homes. They weren't consuming, and suppliers were cutting inventory because people weren't buying.
Do you think we're through the worst of it then? Do you think we're through the worst of it right now?
I certainly hope we're the worst of it. And
yeah, Neil Cavuto didn't want to hear a word this guy had to say.
Yeah. Just want to talk over him.
I mean, that's fine. It's his show, right? But I do he was like, "Are you going to let me talk?" And then he said yes, and then he kept interrupting him.
If he keeps talking over his guests, then he's not going to have any guests.
Yeah, I guess so. It is a game about access, but Fox doesn't care that much about getting access to Democrats, right? They want access to maybe not Trump people anymore because they're Rupert Murdoch's mostly concerned about his legacy. And so he wants his legacy to be, I'm a conservative who stood up to Trump.
Yeah.
But they sure want Boebert on there. We sure want Marjorie Taylor Greene on there. They don't care that much about Steny Hoyer, but yeah, they didn't want to hear it. That guy came with the facts. He's like, we're right in the middle of all OEC nations. I don't know what OEC stands for, actually. He's like, we're right in the middle. And that Neil Cavuto didn't want to hear that. He didn't want to hear that it wasn't he just didn't want to hear that it was an international problem. Didn't want to hear any of it. But just one quick thing. Neil Cavuto was one of the few people at Fox begging his audience to get the vaccine when the vaccine came out. So he wasn't gonna push back maybe if the guy brought up the vaccine. So I don't know what's going on with Al Gore's background.
What do you want me to give a guess?
OEC, sure. Oh, what's going on in his background? Yeah,
on
Boomer.
The background, yeah.
Boomer.
I think what that's supposed to symbolize is the atmosphere of the Earth, which, if seen from space, and you're on the dark side, I guess that's why it's black underneath. You're on the dark side of Earth, then you would see this thin blue line, which is the atmosphere.
Maybe he's supporting the cops.
Or that.
But it makes
I don't think so, because that's usually, that usually looks different. A different kind of blue.
But it makes him look like the oppressor, right?
Yes, it does.
I want to shift. You talked about the broken democracy, and your concession speech from 2000 was invoked at the hearing. I want to play a clip of that and what Mr. Pottinger, who testified, said about it.
Let there be no doubt. While I strongly disagree with the court's
he looks so much younger.
I accept it. And tonight, for the sake of our unity as a people and the strength of our democracy, I offer my concession.
His speech is actually a pretty good model, I think, for any candidate for any office, up to and including the president, and from any party.
Vice President Pence has been...
The guy over stage right of that guy looked like Clark Kent.
Called a hero by some for what he did on January 6th. What say you?
Well, in the current environment, just doing what the law and the Constitution requires seems heroic to some. I'm glad he made that decision. He was a freshman congressman sitting in the chamber when I counted the electoral votes in early January of 2001. I think that those who have tried to continue promoting doubt and suspicion about the efficacy of our democracy are really performing in an anti-American way, and they should be held to account. And that committee, by the way, I want to congratulate Benny Thompson and Liz Cheney and every single member of that committee. They are performing an historic service to our nation.
But nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He had the good take. I kind of wish he would have fought a little more in 2000, but I mean, that was his decision. And the Supreme Court was stacked against him, and they decided the election the other way. And it was an entirely different case than what happened here. he didn't clearly lose and then throw a tantrum. Donald Trump clearly lost and then threw a tantrum, and then got other people to throw, I guess, a tantrum or a coup, depending on how you describe it. So it's like apples and oranges, like the situation. So here's a historian, David Barton. Historian.
Yeah.
He's going to talk about, remember when there was a hole in the ozone layer?
I thought you were going to bring up somebody else for this, because somebody we cover a lot brought that up and everybody's been bashing him. But I guess
wait a minute, that's
the same one.
That's Tim Barton. I thought it was David Barton. Well, shit, I don't even know what my own show is about. Anyway, this is Tim Barton, president of wallbuilders.com, not fake historian David Barton. But I mean, generally, it may be interchangeable in a lot of ways.
There are cycles of nature, but one of the things the Bible tells us is as long as the earth remains, then seasons will also remain. That there will be the spring, there will be the summer, there will be the fall, the harvest, there will be the winter. Seasons are a real thing. And yet, if we want to be practical...
Yo, dude, the harvest doesn't happen in the winter. It happens in the fall.
And objective about this, I remember several decades ago when we were told the most dangerous, scary things there were the holes in the ozone, and there could be acid rain. I haven't heard anybody mention a hole in an ozone or acid rain literally in decades. Did those things disappear, or were they never the problem they were pretended to be?
The first one.
With a lot of the climate change hoax and narrative.
They disappeared. Okay. Yo, the entire world got rid of CFCs in like things like hairspray.
Yep.
I bet it was industrial use of CFC that was doing most of it. It was just that like people like were like you could do your part, right? By making sure you're buying CFC free hairspray and stuff. And so they like used messaging and regulation to get rid of that stuff. And that's one of the main contributing factors to the ozone layer repairing itself. And it was like, I can't believe humanity did it, all things considered. Now that I see what humanity's up to today, I'm like, come on, people would be drinking CFCs right now.
Well, that and the CFC market was a tiny, much smaller market than the, fossil fuel industry. But I wanted to point out that CFCs were also used in refrigeration units. So any kind of in your refrigerators and AC units, stuff like that, they were using it.
AC in cars, yeah.
And it's supposed to be contained, but they were leaking out. So they replaced that and all those locations as well with other chemicals that worked. And though the hole in the ozone layer is actually still there, it's actually not a hole. It's apparently just really thin, right? It's much thinner than it used to be, but it's slowly getting back to normal, and we're not making it worse. And that's kind of the big thing. We're not talking about it because there was an international agreement and that fixed it. Now, the other side was the acid rain thing, and that comes from basically pollutants that are in both actual gas engines, like in your car, and for burning coal and gas and for electricity. And what we've done is for cars, we've added catalytic converters and fixed a lot of that stuff so we don't have that same stuff coming out. And we've done stuff similar in coal plants and I think gas plants also need it.
And there are still places that have what you might describe as acid rain. There are places where there's industrial centers where the rain still has like a lot of pollutants in it. It's just not as widespread everywhere, so it's not as big of a problem. Again, because of regulation and because I don't know, people kind of were like, oh well, if the rain is bad for you, that's bad. And now people would be like, oh, acid rain, let's collect it. They'd be like, really? Chris Key would be Chris Key would be like selling little bottles of it to you so that you can you can cure whatever ails you or whatever. Brett Weinstein would be telling you that acid rain cures COVID or some shit, right?
Yeah, I don't think it was that bad for humans, but it was like doing stuff like sterilizing entire lakes, as people are mentioning in the chat. So I thought you were going to bring up the other person who brought up the exact same argument this week, and it was actually probably just a couple days ago, and that was Matt Walsh.
Ooh, Matt Walsh had a hell of a week, by the way. I don't know if you saw the week Matt Walsh had.
Well, I don't know all the other stuff. I know people were bashing him for exactly the same arguments, which is why they're fresh in my mind, and I was able to talk coherently about him.
So I could take a minute to tell you about the week Matt Walsh had. Matt Walsh was retweeting old videos of Tom Cruise and Matt Lauer, with Tom Cruise talking about psychiatric drugs, and agreeing with Tom Cruise. And so the fucking comments were just full of all kind of Scientology animated GIFs and shit. It was like the Tom Cruise laughs at Dayton's one. I have that one with the trolls that are like party at the Church of Scientology. I have there was other ones like the Tom Cruise jumping on the couch during the interview with Oprah, except he grabs her hands and then like lightning bolts come out of him and he zaps Oprah. It was like a party in the fucking comments. And that was just so much fun to dunk on his fans and to dunk on him for like publishing essentially Scientology propaganda, because they're going after like a mental health care now, even though every time there's when there's a mass shooting, right, they'll go, oh, we need better mental health services. That's what we need to do. And then like just a few weeks later, they're like, actually fuck psychiatric meds. They're bad for you. And so it's as if they either have no idea what's going on or don't believe a fucking word that comes out of their mouth. I can't decide which it is. And in the end, the impact is the same. And I don't care that too terribly much.
Yeah.
So we're going to move on to Marjorie the Gathering. And I'm just going to call this guy the new dork because he's like new and he's kind of a dork and he's like showing up in places. He's like the Good Liars, except not the Good Liars because they're funny. And this guy just like yells at people and calls them globalists. So here he is on the Marjorie Taylor Greene show. And I do find it odd that a member of Congress like has a live stream.
We should expect that now. You know what I mean?
So let's talk about children. Children are in the greatest danger in America today because traditional family values are being destroyed. Mm-hmm. The idea that mom and dad together, not fake mom and fake dad, but biological mom and biological dad, can raise their children together and do what's right for their children, raising them to be confident in who they are, their identity. Their identity is they're a child, you know. Oh,
you're almost there. You're almost there, Marjorie. To be confident in their identity. Oh no, she caught herself.
Oh no,
She's like abort mission. Abort mission. Abort mission. So
you
close.
Got there.
All right. Well, we usually don't get to our palate cleanser at halfway through the show, but this week we're going to skip ahead and get to our palate cleanser. This is courtesy of Blair Erskine. She is this is obviously a parody video. She is a spokesperson for Marco Rubio on why he won't support the Respect for Marriage Act, which is an act going through Congress right now to kind of codify the gay marriage. And it also, because of where we are right now in our society, it also mentions interracial marriage just in case they're coming for that next. So here's Marco Rubio's spokesperson on why he won't be voting for such a thing.
Floridians don't care about gay marriage, okay? They care about gasoline. They care about being able to pump that hot load of affordable gasoline into their vehicles, okay? They care about being able to stick that nozzle inside their car's little buttholes and still being able to pick up straight KFC for their loving heterosexual family. They don't care about gay marriage. No one's ever approached Senator Rubio about gay marriage, and certainly they would if gay marriage was actually a thing. Look at him. Look at his teeth. There are so many of them. Why wouldn't anyone want to marry Senator Rubio? And so, yeah, Senator Rubio will be voting no on the marriage on the Marriage Protection Act. That's a mouthful. Here at the office, Senator Rubio and we like to say, like, that's what she said. That's a mouthful. That's what she said, because she is performing fellatio on a man because she is one of God's children. So yeah, Senator Rubio will be voting.
She's pretty good.
She's so funny. She like stepped in it a couple weeks ago with something dumb she said too, and she was like, "Oh, I guess that was dumb." And then if you could imagine this, everybody was like, "Oh, okay, well we're just gonna move on." So good on Blair. That was pretty funny. I liked some of it was on the nose, but I liked when she said the marriage erection projection. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Good. So funny. She's so funny. I don't know if she's got somebody writing for her. I don't think she does, because she started remember when we first saw her videos? It was like her in her kitchen. Like she,
think so. Yeah.
they were like very like she was obviously just doing them from her phone, and they were just as funny. So good for her. So do you remember a few weeks ago, or maybe a month ago? I don't know. It could have been 2 years ago, for all I know. When Marjorie Taylor Greene was mad that somebody put a sticker on her sign, and she thought it was like a terrorism.
That wasn't very long ago, wasn't it? That was like
maybe a month.
Wasn't that like a month ago or something?
Time is all fucked up, though, man. Time is all fucked up. It was certainly no more than 3 months ago, and definitely more than 2 weeks ago. So she's still on about the incident with the sticker. She's on Real America's Voice. I think she's probably, I don't know whose show she's on. I don't think she's on, I don't know whose show she's on. Maybe they won't even show it, but here we go. She's still on about Stickergate.
Because that man still has his job. He still works for Congressman Jake Auchincloss. He's still there. He is not being prosecuted. And I very much feel threatened by all of that. I do not feel safe. I've asked for protection over and over again because of how many death threats I have. And the Sergeant at Arms does not give me protection like they do the Democrat women. So it's a two-tier justice system. And
he put a sticker on your fucking sign, dude.
Yeah, it's not.
I mean,
that was a death threat, although she's talking about other death threats. She was mixing it all together.
She's trying to it seems like she's trying to equate the two. And like everybody in that building has probably gets death threats. Everybody in that building probably gets death threats. It's unfortunate that has to be part of our politics, but it's the way it is. And that has nothing to do with the person putting a sticker on her sign. Maybe they shouldn't have done that. I don't know. I'm glad they did though, because it's given us between 3 weeks and 3 months of laughs. So that's good. So up next is Tiny Dancer Ben. He's going to talk about climate change because he's a climate expert. As you know, he once said that if the water rises and it engulfs your house, don't worry, you can just sell it and move.
Yeah, because there'd be lots of people who want to buy a flooded house.
And then famously, H. Bomber guy took like a sledgehammer and came through a wall to ask the question, to who, Ben? Aquaman? Very, very good moment in our political discourse. So it's Tiny Dancer Ben talking about climate change yet again.
Nonetheless, Joe Biden is now, quote, eyeing climate emergency declaration as Democrats demand swift action. You got to admire the fact that the entire United States government now operates basically like Michael Scott from The Office. They just declare emergencies now. And Michael Scott, I declare bankruptcy. I go back to naturally declare bankruptcy. Joe Biden now declares.
Like the president has the authority to declare an emergency.
Yeah. And since we've been doing nothing about it, climate is an emergency now.
Emergencies, and this is supposedly going to solve them. So according to the Washington Post, President Biden is considering whether to declare a national climate emergency in the coming weeks as he seeks to salvage his stalled environmental agenda and satisfy Democrats on Capitol Hill. Again, he is so indebted to the center of the Democratic Party. Remember, it ain't about Biden. It's about the waves underneath Biden. Biden is just a cork. The waves are the real issue, and those waves are pushing him ever more to the left. The new calls for action came as Biden prepared to speak Wednesday about the increasingly evident consequences of a rapidly changing planet. Another punishing heat wave descended on the central United States this week as similar weather patterns spread wildfires and broke temperature records in the UK and across Europe. Again, as I say, pretty much every summer, whenever it's a slow news cycle, talk about how it gets real hot in summer, as it happens.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, real hot in summer, historical heat wave, same thing,
It's not like this. There's a functional difference between the weather, the meteorologist or whatever on your local news going, boy, it's going to be a hot one tomorrow. Everybody, make sure you stay inside if you're sensitive to heat or whatever. Versus the entire continent of Europe is 10 degrees hotter than it usually is. Holy shit!
And on fire.
Right.
Yeah. And what was it like? England was 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know how hot that is, but it sounds hot.
Right, it sounds like a lot. We're dumb Americans.
I'm an American. I don't know that.
Could you do the
Celsius?
Could you do that in actual degrees, please? Hip, hip, cheerio.
It's hotter now than it has been for the past century or so. But there have been times in the world's past in which it has been significantly hotter. At the White House, top of
like when, Ben?
Issuing a new emergency declaration hoping it might aid the government's efforts to reduce carbon emissions and foster cleaner energy, according to 3 people familiar with the matter who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the private deliberations.
Like, I don't know if it's been hotter since we've been recording it. I guess, like, the Earth at one point, scientists believe was mostly magma or some shit, like a magma-like like substance, like on the surface.
That'd probably be hotter. Yeah.
That's probably a little hotter. Yeah.
You know, when that protoplanet collided with Earth and, destroyed itself and basically became the moon, it was probably hotter then on the surface of the Earth, but I don't know about since then.
Ben does not know how to talk about climate change without sounding like a fucking idiot.
True.
I don't know that much about climate change, but I'm just like, the experts who are studying the climate seem to think this, and I'm just going to kind of, I think they're probably right because they've spent their life studying this. And not for nothing, like people who are dead and gone also spent their lives studying it, and it all kinds of builds on each other. So that's just my best guess. So Steve Bannon got convicted of contempt of Congress for not showing up at the J6 hearings, like refusing to show up. So his statement about the hearings, about his contempt of Congress here, this is the most amazing thing that anybody's ever said.
Yeah.
I want to thank the jury for the effort they did, the judge, particularly the court administration here, everybody. I only have one disappointment, and that is the gutless members of that show trial committee. The J6 committee didn't have the guts to come down here and testify in open court. Thank you very much.
Like the sign.
Oh my God. No, I can't believe after he refused to testify at a hearing, he said, the people doing the hearing, they don't have the guts to come testify at my hearing.
Yeah.
Fucking the balls on this man. The balls on this man to just go say that.
Such a terrible person.
Just how do you, I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter, right? So he gave another statement and he was defeated by, I don't know, a yard duty. Somebody had a whistle. He was defeated by a whistle.
The show trial, the Moscow show trial of the 1930s, why is he not here in person? Does he really have COVID? Has anybody checked at all, or is he just saying he has COVID? Has Dr. Fauci...
Isn't the guy in yellow?
...really has COVID? This is an absurdity. It's completely and totally absurd. Why is Benny Thompson...
Isn't it like 1,000,000 degrees out? Why is he wearing so much fucking clothes? Look at that. There's 4 layers on top.
Human beings, there's no human beings that will admit to anything about setting any date. Now, where is Benny Thompson? Where is Benny Thompson? Okay, last thing.
Benny Thompson's at that fucking, he's dancing at the fucking Turning Points USA thing. We saw him. You can tell he's heterosexual because he refuses to lift his fists above his shoulders.
You heard it today. You heard it today. I stand with Trump and the Constitution. Trump won, Biden's illegitimate. Are you going to testify?
Shout out to the person with the whistle.
Yeah. Pretty sure it was a guy in yellow in the back. He had a mask on, so you couldn't really see it, but he was breathing in time with the sound of the whistle. So I think that was him.
Oh, that's a pretty good observation there. I couldn't tell. Yeah. I'm also not for nothing. I'm also looking at like 90 things while I'm doing this show, which is my own fault for just putting displays everywhere and making a spaceship. It's not like it has to be this way.
Well, it does make everything look good, right?
all the indicators could be off screen, I guess. But then if something goes wrong, I wouldn't know what it was. Okay, so up next is Alan Dershowitz talking about how Steve Bannon was basically denied a right to a trial because Democrats live in Washington, D.C.
What
do you think of this verdict, and what do you think of what's likely to happen to him?
Entirely predictable and entirely in violation of the Constitution. The only provision of the Constitution which appears basically twice is trial by jury in front of a fair jury. Number one, he didn't have a fair jury. Number two, the judge took his defenses away from him. The judge denied him a jury trial. They wouldn't allow him.
Wait, is he talking about Austin Bennett?
That he believed that there was an executive privilege involved and he wanted a judicial determination before he violated the executive privilege. That issue could not be presented to the jury. So as I predict.
So just real quick, the president is the only one who can claim executive privilege. They can claim it on behalf of their staff. They can say, "Oh, this person can't." Like the administration or whatever claims it. You can't just claim executive privilege after the fact because you were working for the president.
Well, yeah, I mean, I believe that the claim is that that Trump claimed executive privilege to keep Bannon, that Bannon can't testify or whatever it was he was doing. And that's why he didn't show up. But there's a whole lot of questions because he's clearly claiming executive privilege to protect himself. He's not doing it for the reason you're supposed to do it for.
I mean, imagine like Jimmy Carter's not the president anymore. Imagine a world where Jimmy Carter could just claim executive privilege to protect a friend of his. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you can do it while you're not the president.
Yeah, well, I think the idea is it related to something that happened while he was president, so he can still do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it.
That's the whole thing. Like, that's the whole question about it, right? Can he actually claim executive privilege for this?
So here we go. Here's Biden on the Tucker Carlson show. They're talking about jail, which is somewhere, or not Biden, I'm sorry. Bannon on the Tucker Carlson show talking about jail, which is somewhere Bannon's never going to go because the Powerful People Club doesn't ever throw anybody from the Powerful People Club in jail.
Or if he goes, he's going to be the white collar, like resort type jail, right?
Now your freedom's still taken away from you.
Yeah, something.
And what he did wasn't violent, so why wouldn't he go to like a white collar kind of place?
Well, he shouldn't go to, he should go to minimum security prison, definitely.
Going to jail? Are you confident you would be safe there, for example?
First off, if I go to jail, I go to jail. I will never back off a second. Look, I spent 8 years as a naval officer. I've committed my life to this program to get this done. I will never back off. I support Trump and the Constitution, and I'm not backing off 1 inch. If I go to jail, so be it.
He's not going to jail.
Yeah.
2 hours after being found guilty of contempt of Congress, here's Mr. Bannon doing his show on Real America's Voice with a picture of Jesus behind him. White Jesus.
This, by the way, I want to persecuted. The jury, D.C. working class and middle class people that took the entire week off for a misdemeanor that I think they were in the court for maybe a day and a half max of 5 days. I want to thank them and I respect their decision given the evidence and the information they were presented in the room. It's a misdemeanor and it was very restricted. This is why there was so much convoluted in and out, and the judge did a great job. I'm not questioning the judge did a great job of trying to balance.
That's not what he said before.
No, it wasn't.
I think he just doesn't want to piss he doesn't want to piss the judge off because I don't think he's been sentenced yet.
Yeah.
But
that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Though he is going to appeal, so we'll see what happens there.
How do you appeal? I guess you do appeal criminal convictions. Anyway, here's Bannon has a diehard supporter. I believe this is at a Trump rally or a Trump adjacent rally. Anyway, this is Bannon's day one, is ride or die.
Because there's not a whole lot of places we can go to get the truth as far as what's happening to our country. And I want to just thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you guys, how you stick your necks out, especially Steve Bannon. You know, all the way he's held himself through this whole January 6th crap is just very awe-inspiring to me. It's very inspiring. So I just want to thank you. Keep up the good work. Please keep it going so that we can hear the truth, so that he guides us. All you guys guide us as what's happening and what to do so that we know what to do. So thank you very much.
So the music, if it wasn't there from the event, somebody would have added something like that behind this person when they're talking. Oh man, this poor lady. She got Facebook brain, right? Yeah. I think she got Facebook brain. So up next, guess who went on the Steve Bannon show?
Went on the Steve Bannon show? Okay.
Yep. Guess who went on the
Steve? They both have shows. So, and I'm looking at the text, so I don't have to guess.
Here's Alex Jones on the Steve Bannon show.
Alex, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us about this movie. A great filmmaker made this. You're interviewed for it, but other than that, it's their film, correct?
It is. I mean, I've turned down a lot of other documentary offers because it's the establishment. They always lie. But I'd seen some of her films and knew that it was independent. And it shows me in a bad light and a good light because, I mean, I'm a real person just like you. But it's hard to come on here, Steve, because I've admired you. I knew you were the brain behind a lot of what Trump was able to do. And you've had the most courage of anybody out there standing up to this January 6th fraud and really bringing America back. So it's hard to come on your show and then talk about myself here. It's surreal with what you did, not backing down to the committee, and them and their kangaroo court, and how they wouldn't let you cross-examine people. I'm facing 3 rigged lawsuits run by Democrats.
So again, the idea of cross-examining, the prosecution would have had to call someone for the defense to cross-examine them. Yeah. And the prosecution wasn't just like, we're going to call every member of Congress, actually, who voted to certify the election. That they didn't have to do any of that.
Right.
It's literally like the fucking Austin Bennett thing where he thought he was going to cross-examine the victim, but nobody's going to call a victim. It's the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
Same ones in Travis County that indicted Rick Perry and Tom DeLay. I'm not allowed to say I'm innocent at my trial next week that starts. They put an order out. You cannot say you're innocent. You cannot say it's rigged. Because
you were already found guilty.
And I mean, it's insane. I'm supposed to sit there and not talk and not say I'm innocent.
That's usually what you do in a courtroom.
The end of America. So if they can destroy Steve Bannon and Alex Jones, they can destroy you. So I'm just honored. And I'm not gushing here just to gush. I mean, I don't gush. I'm gushing because
he's gushing.
Literally, we are in the arena. And you and I, and you at a greater level, I got to say.
You might see Steve Bannon as some kind of off-ramp for him, right? If they take all his shit, Steve Bannon will hire him.
So scared of you. And so I admire your work. And I have, really, really pushed people that have, attacked you and stuff to not, because they're wrong. And when they do, they're buying into the globalist propaganda. So I am really, this is a big bucket list being on your show. And I'm so proud of the fact that it's exploded and everybody talks about it. I'm at the grocery store. I'm at church. Everywhere, almost every day.
Fucking everybody at church is talking about Steve Bannon. Get the fuck out of here.
People go, man, I really love your show and I love Steve Bannon. Did you see this? Did you see that? And I don't get like envious. I feel good when I go to sleep at night. Like if they put me in prison or kill me next week, at least Steve Bannon's out there.
No, they're just going to take all your shit and we want just anything from his studio. Just anything when it goes to auction.
You put together.
But here, the reason I want to have you on is the film. Look, the film's a powerhouse film.
I feel like anything in Alex Jones' studio is probably worth more than your entire.
Let's talk about Steve Bannon. Okay, we'll talk about.
No.
He's got this like chessboard that looks like it's like got a goat's head and shit. It looks like a satanic ritual chessboard that he I want that.
I'll talk to you.
No, yeah, but
we don't got room for his desk. The new studio is big, but fuck, we don't got room for that desk.
And look, you're a fighter, and they're obviously trying to take you down. The point I don't think people get about you, we do at the War Room, and I personally do because I followed you for years, is that you're not just a man of action. The guy that they see on that show every night, the guy they see out the bullhorn, the guy that's taking leadership and saying, hey, I'm like in the first tank and we'll drive this. As much and as important as that leadership is, the true thing that you've done, which is stunning, if you look at the evidence of that and the facts, you are one of the great thinkers of this. That is very rare. You close to the revolutionary generation.
Is this a date?
See that. In this new book,
sounds like
it. When Tony Lyons first approached me, I read this thing. I go, this is it. This guy has summarized, he's pulled together. And the film is powerful, but the film is going to show Alex Jones in all his glory, the good and the bad, and you make your decision. But you see Alex Jones, the brawler. Alex Jones, the intellectual brawler. But this book, The Great Reset and the War for the World, I'm telling you, everybody in America, the people that hate Alex Jones the most have to read this book. This is no beach read. You're not going to be flipping pages here. You're going to be having a pen out. And you're going to be underlining stuff. It's amazing. So, look, I appreciate the kind words. Look, we're both in this, and there's no back down. Tucker, I was on Tucker last night. Trump, you, me, others. We're not going to back down an inch. We can't. The Republic, this is a fourth turning. The Republic is in play right now. We're either going to win or we're going to lose. It's very simple.
Because Steve, let's explain this to viewers. If we back down, it's like dying. It's like committing suicide to back down. We're not looking for trouble, but we just can't back down. And we need America to understand that you be with us together. Exactly. We're not backing down. We can't do it.
No, absolutely. I tell you what, I'm going to take a short break here. I'm going to get Alex. I want to talk about this book if we can get it up. Alex, can we get the cover of the book up real quickly? When is this book? I know people can order it now. When does the book actually come out? Because this is something that people need to read immediately, and we need to break it down, etc. So when can people get this book, The Great Reset in the War for the World?
I was making changes to it up to a month ago. The book is done. Today, I am writing, because I'm 2 weeks behind. They're going to print it next week. The acknowledgement. It's kind of hard to write the acknowledgement because I want to thank so many people. So after this show, I'm going to write the acknowledgement. It's going to go to print Monday, and it's going to be out in the middle of August. So it's going to print next week, so people can start.
Let's take a short commercial break. We're going to get the way everybody orders it. Alex Jones. There's a massive film premiering tonight in Austin, Texas, Alex's War. You're not going to want to miss that. Then he's got a major new book coming out in mid-August. You can start to pre-order The Great Reset in the War for the World. And this is as heavy as it gets. Alex Jones is our guest. You're in the War Room. We'll take a short commercial break. We'll be back in a moment.
Yeah, they were just heaping praise on each other, weren't they?
Yeah, pretty much. What documentary? What is he talking about? I missed
it's called
that.
Alex's War. It's done by a filmmaker who made a documentary called TFW No GF, like that feel when no girlfriend. And it painted the involuntarily celibate community in a fairly positive light.
I don't even know how you can do that.
They just found like a couple guys who were maybe not so deep into it or whatever, but who were having a hard time dating and painted. And they one of the guys seemed like a really nice guy, a really smart guy. But then by the end of it, like all of them had girlfriends, right? So it was like, well, this isn't really about what you said it was about, is it? Because during the course of you filming this, they all like met somebody and now they have a partner. So that's not really what was going on here. So yeah, it's called Alex's War. It's unfortunately put out by like not a major studio, but like enough of like an organized like media outlet that they will be litigious and will never be able to watch it on stream. But I do suggest that people acquire it via, whatever means you see appropriate to acquire this movie. So I think the last thing we're going to do before we go on into red light here, because we just don't have time, we'll do the Dave Rubin stuff during red light. We're going to check in on Jordy Pete. His arc is getting crazier as he has moved over to the Daily Wire.
The arc finally ending?
No, he's on the Daily Wire now.
Oh, okay.
Who's an expert in planetary sustainability? No one. It's too complicated. And that's why we have a decentralized free market economy. Oh, captains of industry. We have a decentralized free market economy so that the invisible hand, which is actually a gigantic distributed computational system, calculating adaptation to the transforming horizon of the future, so that the invisible hand, the free choice of product and occupation characterizing billions of people, can guide us as unerringly and selfishly, thank God for that, as possible into the future.
So far, go ahead.
Fully drank the Ayn Rand Kool-Aid?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know he did before, but...
Yeah, but he's like, because he's on Daily Wire, they are a big kind of free market outlet. So he's like kind of moving away from TFW, no GF to the weird sex scene in Atlas Shrugged.
Stop with the faux communist pretense, unless you want to go there. And if you do, think again, sunshine. Stop pretending that there are 150 different genders and that it is your job to be so compassionate toward all narcissistic outsiders that you tempt children into ill-advised and terribly destructive
feel weird
surgery.
Hearing him talk about narcissism.
Yeah. Come on, dude. Come on. You got to be a little more self-aware than this.
Yeah, seriously.
Are you wealthy? Be better. Do so much good with your money and your other privileges that when the mob comes, you can say, I have devoted myself truly to the highest good and can stand innocent before you and my own conscience. And you, mobsters, have you looked to your own redemption? Have you borne the responsibility of your own unexamined privilege? You who dwell equally in the exploitation and atrocity of the so-called imperialist West? As I said, and as so many are insisting, we are in a conceptual war, CEOs, and it goes all the way to the bottom. What side do you want to be on when the chips are down?
Maybe the bottom, I don't know. Depends on how I feel.
Don't be thinking you can.
I don't think that means what he thinks that it means.
Sides against the middle. The deepest chasms of hell are reserved for those who play that game.
One more.
Wasn't he was complaining about the mob, but at the same time, he's kind of like trying to whip up the mob. Like he's one of the people that's part of the problem with that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's definitely
Polarization.
trying to whip his fans up into like hatred of, I don't know, like the woke capitalists. And like, not for nothing, there's like some weird, like, I'd even call it virtue signaling, especially during Pride, where there's these companies.
Yeah.
Like when YouTube, like a company that just is chock full of homophobic content, throws a rainbow up on their logo. I'm like, oh, what? You shouldn't, don't, come on. You're not fooling it. You're not fooling anybody. Kick off Steven Crowder for Pride Month. Come on. Kick off Jordan Peterson for Pride Month. Like take some action. Then you can have the rainbow logo. All right.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's a good place for like queer people to work generally. Like the company doesn't discriminate against their employees. It's just like, that's at odds with the platform that they've created. Same with Facebook.
Yeah.
Although I heard it's not great if you're black at Facebook. Not great. Not great.
So, stop saving the world with the centralizers, globalists, narcissists, and eternal builders of the Tower of Babel. Stand forth instead, as I said, as proudly evil capitalists. Do your fiduciary duty. Provide your customers and clients with what they need and want.
That's not the fiduciary duty. The fiduciary duty that you have, according to like case law in America, is to maximize profit for your shareholders.
Yep.
It is not.
Also, his whole like saving the world rant, like again, not at all self-aware. That seems to be what he's trying to do.
Right. It seems to be like he thinks he can save the world with his nonsense. And nobody's going to save the world by giving a talk in front of a bunch of wood that there's no way that they chopped themselves.
And let the great invisible hand, that immense computational device, play its necessary role. Make your enterprise productive and profitable. Make yourself generous and abide by the dictates of your conscience. Do enough signal good so that your great wealth rests lightly on your shoulders. This is a more difficult task, take note, than generating that wealth itself.
Okay. Yeah, completely not self-aware.
Yeah.
Because he's doing all the things that he's saying that that other people shouldn't do. But that's like sort of been this guy's kind of MO, right? He's like, oh, don't be ideological. And I'm like, excuse me? You know, like this whole, like a lot of his shtick is like, don't do the things that I do. Or maybe he's even saying, do the things that I do, but only if you're on my team.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I'm glad we got to Jordy Pete, and I'm actually, I'm glad for you, I guess, that we didn't get to the Dave Rubin stuff. We'll get to the Dave Rubin stuff first in red light. Everybody, thanks for tuning into the podcast version of the show. I appreciate it. Thank you, live viewers. I don't know. Thanks everybody for all your help. This is the last Sunday show in this location. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another Sunday show. It'll be episode 300. We're not quite sure what we're going to do, but if anybody in the community out there, podcast land, live viewers have any favorite moments from this particular show, over the last fucking what feels like 500 years. Go ahead and let us know in our Discord. It's discord.me/Echoplex, and go to echoplex.media.com/support. And any ways you can support us there are greatly appreciated. And if you don't want to do any of that, share the show with your friends. That's also something we would greatly appreciate. So I'm going to move on to Red Light. Matt, thanks for joining me once again this evening.
Thanks for having me.
And next time we do the show together, I'll be on a different internet connection, and we'll see how it goes, because this internet connection here has been fucking bomb. God. Anyways, Boomers by Periscope, and change the color of the lights, change the contents of my beverage, and I'll be back with Red Light.
Echoplex has a 24-hour stream? That's right. Check out our 24/7 music stream at echoplexmedia.com/live or at eplex.xyz. Our huge self-submitted local music library plays the best tunes the Bay Area has to offer, and commercial free, well, except for ours, and even by request. Check out the player on echoplexmedia.com or at eplex.xyz. Bookmark it and enjoy it all day. Echoplex is very supportive of our local music scene, and we hope you enjoy the soundtrack they've so graciously sent in for us to play on our network. If you like who you hear, please go check them out. The names of the artists are displayed on the player at echoplexmedia.com and at eplex.xyz.